Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is the first in what will be a number of meetings that we're going to focus specifically on the needs of middle schools. Last year and the years before, we had the elementary and the middle school coordinators together, but because there's so many changes and it's happening with different assessments at different levels, I wanted to make sure that you were able to get your questions answered and not necessarily have to sit through listening to things for 4K. So this is specifically for you for grades 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to start by taking us just on a real quick resource journey. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go to the website, I hope. Let's see, we're going to go right here. Okay, so the website, the Office of Assessment Administration, Sarah Wallner and myself work for that particular office. The way our website is set up is we've got a whole bunch of resources here. So if you were to log in with mmsd.org/assessment, you will see all of this. We're going to focus today on what's available here at the middle school level. And for coordinators, if you were to click on middle school information, it takes you to a calendar page, which we have not finalized yet. Further down on the bottom, towards the bottom, are coordinator meetings. So all of these meetings will be archived. You'll always be able to come back and get this meeting. We're going to click on September 20th, 2020. And so here is the PowerPoint if you want to download that and follow along, or you can just take a look at that later. Meeting agenda is listed here. We're going to talk about three things really today. We're going to talk about just the resources that are available to you, why it is that we meet, and then we're going to move into Fastbridge and Fastbridge questions. Finally, we're going to talk about a little bit about IReady. So if there are questions, we can address those as well. Finally, at the bottom of this page, there are handouts and resources set up for each one of the grade level meetings. So right now, we've got a bunch of resources here from the IReady letters regarding assessment, how to do that at home, both in English and in Spanish. Some Fastbridge information regarding about how to get student tickets, which we'll talk about. The support document that has a whole list of support items for Fastbridge, and then some specifics about English language learners, specifically regarding Fastbridge assessments. When is it appropriate to interpret? Accommodations, what's available, when do you at all exempt students? Also just a principals memo from OMGE, essentially saying, here is what's going to happen and not going to happen, who's going to be DLI, who's going to be testing. For instance, the Hmong language immersion program, while not at a middle school yet, there's some things that are interesting there as well. So that's what's on the website. I'm going to back out one more time, and then you may or may not have found the Fastbridge and IReady's pages. They are being continually built. You'll see Fastbridge, a reading is here, and the IReady for math. So resources are here. We're going to continue to build out these pages. One of the things that I want to point out is when you may have already seen this, if you go into the 6-8, over on the top right-hand side, there's an about, and then there's a data use button. This is going to be really important. Protocols are being put in place because really the critical piece for any of these assessments this year, the screeners, the interim assessments that we're looking at, the fundamental piece is that we are looking to support students and teachers in improving the learning that's happening for all kids. So it is really about equity. It's about getting classroom usable data for staff, for students, for their adults, the adults in their lives. So the data piece right now, the data use is fairly empty because we don't have a whole lot of data to use, but we're going to be filling that up as we move along. So with that, I am going to jump back and say if there anything that you want to specifically discuss that is not on the agenda for Fastbridge or IReady yet. Is there anything we need to add to the agenda? Okay, Sarah, you're going to monitor the chat for me just in case, and thank you very much. Okay, let's jump into the PowerPoint, and we will get this rolling. Maybe we will. Here we go. Okay, so the purpose of these meetings is actually because you are all in separate buildings. You know, you're focused on your staff and what's going on, and you may end up having questions come to you, or you may have questions and there's no one else in the building who has the answers because they're not living the same reality that you are. And so oftentimes, I mean, you can look around, sorry, if we were face to face, you could look at each other and have a conversation. And typically we would go around and just kind of introduce ourselves, who's where, at which buildings. But sooner or later, you're going to say, oh, yeah, you're the person who's over at this school. And I have a question for you because you asked this question, or I've known that you did this. So really, this meeting is about us working together. It's about Sarah and I and Peg and Ben sharing resources with you. And if you have questions, you know, for instance, Christina is here today to help answer any questions as well. But really, it's about supporting each other. So today's agenda, as I've said, we've gone over the website a little bit. I'll just share the calendar with you in a moment. We're going to be talking about reading. We're going to be talking about IReady. We're going to schedule future meetings, including what I'm going to call office hours or study halls, drop-in kinds of things where if you have a question, you just want to connect, we can do that. So the website, as you know, it is quite purple, and we are going to be looking at changing that sometime this year. Let's see. I wanted to go back here. I wanted to look for calendars. So calendars are the second item here. This is the school calendar. It is much more detailed than what's on the just the public-facing side, which right now is in being updated. So we have the significant religious observances calendar, if you're interested in that. If we look at middle school assessments, this is going to be the one that gives you all the details about what exams, when the dates are, etc. So if you do have questions about that, let me know, and we will certainly be happy to help you out. I'm also building out a concise one single page document like this, so it would just say forward exam and when, who takes it and when, so that you can kind of at a glance look and see what the year looks like. So I will share that with everybody when at some future meeting, whether it's today or tomorrow. So just wanted you to be aware that these calendars are there. All right, let's go back to slide. As much as possible, we try to make sure that it's in everything is in at least 2 languages, if not 3 or 4. That continues to be an ongoing process. The translators and I work well together. Doesn't mean I get things fast, but it means we know each other. Okay. You all should have access to Fastbridge as a specialist. There are a couple different ways of getting permission sets on Fastbridge. First one is a classroom user. That allows you as a teacher to see students that are rostered to you. If we would like to get a grade level team to be sharing information, we can do that. But if you have someone who's, for instance, in a role like you need to see everybody, a CC teacher who works with multiple grade levels, you would be considered to be a specialist. You know you have a specialist access if your username is a B number. And I see we've got a couple, is it questions? Okay, so yeah, if you have any changes or anything that needs to happen, please email either Sarah or myself, and Sarah's probably got that almost all done for you, Jackie. We'll see. So the B number and then the password that you've set up. Now the question comes up, I need to bookmark this. Are there a couple ways of getting in? I need to rearrange it. So let's go to this. Multiple ways of logging in. So class link. If you have students rostered to you, class link, there should be a tile that looks similar to this at the bottom or someplace in class link on your class link page. Or, oh, excuse me. This happens to be from my ZenWorks window. Click into class link and you will be able to see that. Now, let me just quickly show you how you can, I'm going to end this and we're going to share a different page. We're going to take a look at class link. Now, class link is set up based on what your needs are. You'll notice that you don't see Fastbridge anywhere on my page. Well, don't look at the bottom left because I added it. Let me just show you how to add it. So if you use class link, there is a way of adding tiles. So if you go over to the upper left, click on the app library, then click on Madison Metropolitan, you'll see Fastbridge non-SSO, non-single sign-on. So click on that. I'm not going to remove it. I'm just going to, I would add it, and then I can go back. Now I can log in by clicking on Fastbridge, and it takes me, guess what? It takes me to the login page. So at this point, students do not have this, they can't log directly into Fastbridge. They will need a username and password just like everyone else. So when it's time to actually take the assessment, they will need to do that. So just wanted you to be aware that there is a way of adding a tile. If you are not in a rostered, as a rostered classroom teacher, there's a way of adding a tile to your class link page. The other way is by direct URL. Once you've gotten there, it pays to bookmark it because you're going to be there quite a bit. Now, I don't own a student Chromebook. I don't have a student login. However, Tech Services, when I met with them during this past week, assured me that students, when they open their Chromebook and they are on class link, will see that Fastbridge icon, that Fastbridge tile. It will be there. So that's important. If it isn't there, please let me know. If you have some students that are not registered, not rostered in a classroom, or if there are issues around technology, somehow that we don't have the correct tiles located on their device, please let me know. Myself or Sarah, and we will follow up with that. So I'm going to back up a page or two. Once you've logged in, we've all been through the process. We know that there are training modules. This is the way that Fastbridge does their professional learning. There is not a, let's come in and do a professional development day. We had that about a year ago for progress monitoring, but that's not typically how Fastbridge works. So they will add modules. In fact, let's take a look at that. I'm just going to quick check the chat. Thanks for letting me know. So each one of the modules, if you've been through it, here's A reading, for instance, is a standard 8 different steps. Demonstration, standardization, using the assessment, progress monitoring, practice, and then certification. The certification quiz actually is just that. It is, the expectation is that you do well. I can't remember, I think it's 80% or 90% you have to get. There are 10 questions usually. And if you get it wrong, you can go back, relearn it, and then take the certification quiz again. I'm going to actually go and log into Fastbridge so that we can take a look at that. You have the ability to check to see whether or not someone has actually passed. Okay, so we're logged in. I don't have much that's very different from you, but let's go to a specialist view. This is what your view would look like. You can go to reporting. Anybody who's got the specialist view, so this could be CC teachers, it could be you, it could be your principal. And as you look down on this, you can see the certification report. I'm not going to click on this because I'm not going to follow and check in on people. If you click on that, and then if you click on the green slice of pie, that will allow you to actually get a list of all the people who have been certified in that particular assessment. So in this case, we're talking about A reading. If you got all the language arts staff going to be certified, you can check to see whether or not they have actually done that work. So it's just kind of a way of following up. The critical point is not an aha, I caught you, you didn't certify. The critical thing is that we want to make sure that the assessment is done as best as we possibly can so that the resulting data is in fact reliable and it's valid, it means something. If we're going to use data to drive instruction, one of the critical pieces is to make sure that the data we can believe in it. And you can believe in it when we give the assessment correctly. So that's going to be a critical piece. I see there's several things in the chat. Sarah, is there anything that I should be following up with?
We're good for now. I'm addressing it for now. We're going to talk about passwords in a little bit, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the specialist page. And in fact, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint just for a moment. Thanks for your patience, everyone. And so one of the resources that you have on your on that website for this month's meeting is you will have a document that's a full-page document like this. So students will need login and password information. This is true for both reading and math, elementary, middle school. If you're ever using Fastbridge, having the student log in for the assessment is important. Classroom teachers do not have this option. The classroom user permission set does not include this option for getting tickets. If you are a specialist, you will need to be able to get that. So you can enlist any other specialist from your building to help you out. Let me just show you what that looks like. So you know you're a specialist when you see the specialist tab. I'm going to go in and we're going to jump back to Fastbridge. Okay, so I'm going to view this as a specialist. I am at Cherokee Middle School. So let me see. We're going to look up student login access. Okay, actually student passwords. And it's loading. So of course, this is going to take a little bit, but one of the things that you can do, I can tell you right now, is that the student name and their login are pretty consistent across the board. So I'm going to, let's see. Sorry. Pretty consistent across the board. You'll see that we have the student is the first name, full first name, and their full MMSD ID. So that's the protocol for creating a username or a login. Now, I would not tell students, oh, it's your first name and then your MMSD ID, because there are so many students who will say, well, for me, it would say Timothy and then my 6-digit number, but I don't go by that. Only my mother calls me that when I'm in trouble. However, if I put in Tim and then my ID number, we're going to end up with a lot of students going, help me, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So let's focus on what it would look like. I'm going to go to continue to use Cherokee. You will be able to filter by school. You can go to the grade level. I'm going to go to grade 7. And I'm going to go, let's see, we've got some already in place here. So we've got some student information already here. So you'll notice that there's a password and an editing icon over on the right-hand side. You can set up all the passwords to be the same for the same teacher. So for instance, if I'm going to, let me filter on, where are we? Here we go. All right, I'm just going to filter on her class, on Jacqueline Scher's class. You'll notice that all the passwords are set up over here. And if I'm going to print this and I want to use this just the way it comes, I think that middle school students can certainly handle this, but you may want to change it so that it is, at least the first time through, we're not focusing on getting the password correct, we're focusing on actually the assessment. I would click on the check all, and then I would come down and generate passwords in PDF. Okay, that generates a PDF document. You can move from a PDF to a spreadsheet. And if you have trouble doing that and want some help, please let me know and I'll see if I can create a how-to document. This will generate a PDF with all the student passwords, usernames, etc. on that. Okay, I'm going to pause here. I believe there are probably a few questions. So, how are we doing, everyone? Any questions that anybody wants to voice for the moment?
What we did when we had students taking their Lexia assessment to get into the program is they sat right in that Zoom meeting while they were taking their Lexia assessment. Could we do that with this so they would have they would be in a Zoom meeting in one window, but their main view would be of their testing, and that way they would be sitting in there in case they have questions, or it would just be a way for me to see them while they're taking the test so I know the environment that they're in. Is that appropriate? And I'm imagining like students having issues with like, now what's my password again? They're asking me that. And then maybe I'm shooting them the email of that again. So I need to somehow tell every single one of my teachers at my school for their 50 kids that they teach ELA to, what their password is and their username is, and then those teachers in turn need to pass that on to the kids. I see that as quite a bit of work. Like, what kind of process are you imagining? At this point, it is impossible for me to give the A-reader, and all of my teachers are certified in it.
Okay, great question. I am envisioning that you could go in and set up just one teacher at a time by using this filter at the top, and then altering the passwords, editing the passwords to be something very simple, but same for every student for that teacher. So I know that for instance, I'm picturing some of our littlest ones. Kindergartners are going to be using Fastbridge for part of their assessment suite. We want to make sure that the password is pretty straightforward. So you could just type in AAAA. So Jacqueline shares her class might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it might be JS 234. Something that's all the same, so that those students, it's very easy that they can all log in, and that would be appropriate. So if you're doing a Zoom setting like you're describing, that would be a good way to prevent 45 different interruptions. What was my password? Because you could just put that in the chat and say everyone's password for today is this. Like I said, once I believe that we get into this and the students and the staff are more comfortable with actually using Fastbridge for the assessment, for the screeners, etc., I think we can move to using something as, password cryptic as AW3PJC as it's listed here. For the time being, I really want to see us focus on actually getting the assessment done. So it's kind of like, let's work on the assessment, not that let's remove barriers to actually getting on to the assessment versus doing the assessment. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So right now what I have to do is go in and make every teacher have a password for it.
That would be the easiest way that I would suggest, yes.
Okay, as soon as I'm made a specialist, I can do that.
You're right. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. And Tim, I mean, I'm trying to think about the simplest way possible, but I also want to, be thinking also about, like, I don't know, assessment safety, security.
Right.
I mean, is it too open to just have it just be the same password for everybody, or do you suggest that we're doing it by class?
That's a great question. Because, as long, oh man, I would prefer to see it done by teacher. So if you've got 75 students who are doing it and Tim Peterson is the teacher, you can give all of them the password, the same password. But if Karina Sloan is the teacher, I would not give her students the same password. I mean, they're going to figure this out sooner or later. That's not my concern. My concern is right now making it easy, as easy as possible to get students in. And then as we become more comfortable, we can move to something that's a little bit more secure. I'm not worried at this point about students getting in and copying the test, etc. I mean, we're in a virtual setting. There's only so much we can really do. So I want to make sure that we're lowering barriers to getting in and really focusing on actually the assessment. Does that help?
Yeah, I was also curious, and it might be in this doc that Nicole just shared. When you look at the ones you have on your screen, they're a mix of letters and numbers. Is there any sort of like parameters for what it could be? Because I would think the easiest thing would just make it like the teacher name, right? But I don't know if it needs to include numbers or not.
I've seen passwords that work that are all alphabetical letters. They could also be all numbers. So I think we're okay. And I do not see any capital letters on any of these. So my guess is lowercase is the rule.
And I've seen a few that are created by some of the elementary schools that include all capital letters. So I cannot speak to whether it's case sensitive, but I know they are allowable. So it's something to keep in mind. Tim, a question that we've gotten a few times that I can't answer is there any, I don't know that there is there any way to export this to Excel within Fastbridge, the passwords, because it would be easier for people to manage?
No, here's what I've done, because I've worked on this for a couple of different schools. Put it into a PDF, and then you need to have the full Acrobat suite in order to send it over to an Excel document. I'll tell you what, if you've got even 15, 20 documents, it takes about 4 or 5 seconds to convert them. Send them to me. I will convert them and send them right back to you as a spreadsheet. If you want to, then you can sort by section. You can sort however you would like to, but it will be in a spreadsheet at that point. So also then it would be easier if you are going to be emailing the password, the username and password to students individually. You can still copy and paste from a PDF, but it would be easier if you had an Excel spreadsheet. And depending on how inundated I am with requests, which I'm fully able to do that, I will try and turn them around in about half an hour. If I'm not involved in some kind of meeting or conversation, I'll get right on that, because I know that you need that. Okay.
And I'll pop in to say, this is Sarah talking. If you copy me on the same email, I'm going in. I don't have the full Acrobat suite at home, but I'm going into Doyle a few times a week for a WIDA mailing right now. So between the two of us, we'll get it done for you as soon as we possibly can. So if you email us both, we can help convert those to Excel for you.
Okay, any other questions about the tickets or the passwords for the students?
Tim, can you show us a quick example, like at the bottom, the generate passwords, the spreadsheet? John
Sure.
Kepp was wondering whether the student IDs show up in that, and I cannot remember whether they do or not.
A great question. Here's what the PDF looks like. So student, as long as you know that Michael's login or his MMSD ID is here, then you have it. However, if you want to be able to sort other than alphabetically, because here you notice that this was not how it looked on the screen. This was all the students assigned to that particular teacher. If you want to sort by section or by some other way other than alphabetically by last name, you'll need to put it into a spreadsheet. Does that help?
I'm curious about what John shared about an extract formula. Can you be more specific for those of us who are unaware of this?
Yeah, so when Tim sends that PDF, it looks like it's going to have 3 columns. It's going to have the student name, the login, and the password. And the login looks like it's a combination of the student ID number and the student name. So you're going to have to run a formula when you convert it to Google Sheets eventually that gets rid of all the letters and commas and hyphens, and so it only leaves the numbers in the order at which they exist. And then you'll have the student ID number. Then you can also run VLOOKUP formulas to make sure that it gets to the ELA teacher by section.
And John, if you and I can work on a quick how-to, because not everybody is real familiar with that. Maybe I just asking, not requesting, because that would be a really helpful thing. It's like I could sit with this how-to right next to my computer and say, okay, now I got to do this. Now I got to do this, because if it's in an Excel spreadsheet, it's so much more workable than if it's in a PDF.
So Tim, if you download the Whitehorse PDFs and then convert them into Excel, I'll make a loom, and then I'll send that back to you.
Okay, okay. I will copy that down. So, okay. Great, thank you. This is why we're working on this stuff together, because we're much better at it. We've got a lot of ideas and to help work through these things together. So, anything else before we just move away from this particular item?
So this is Sarah again. This is not in regards to student passwords, but while I was thinking of it and while I just got 3 emails, not from this group, about it, I wanted to let you guys know kind of, or just reiterate how accounts work in Fastbridge. Classroom level users are any teacher who is in Infinite Campus and has students attached to them. So each night I see updates. Chris Birch in the Tech Services Department runs this awesome code that gets Fastbridge to update nightly. And the students should be automatically in there. So if you ever notice a student is missing, send me an email. Sometimes there are little reasons that they wouldn't appear, and we'll get them in as quickly as we can, but they should update overnight. But that being said, any staff member that's in Infinite Campus at your building who has a student in a section attached to them will automatically be created a classroom user account. So they use their email address to log in, and they can see their class lists and work with the system that way. But when we talk about specialist accounts, which has come up today, many of you are already in the system as specialists. Those of you that have said that you don't have access, I'm going to get you set up as quickly as I possibly can. Those are all added manually. And what we did last year is that we had CC teachers, SEAs, BRTs, instructional coaches, psychologists, a whole group of people loaded into the program. So if people have changed roles, it's possible that you might not yet be in as a specialist. So if you're hearing from people in your building that they don't have an account and they need one, they're going to be working and supporting students this year, all you need to do is reach out to us, to myself, to Tim. We also have an awesome email address that's kind of a catch-all for Fastbridge questions. It's FAST, just the word FAST, F-A-S-T, at madison.k12.wi.us. It goes to a bunch of us, and it can help support in those questions as we learn all of these things that we're trying to learn right now. But also, if you know there are users who are having trouble getting in or are new to your building or maybe new to their role and aren't in the system yet, just send an email saying, I need an account and I don't have one, and we'll get you set up as soon as possible. So the specialist accounts are not auto set up. Often it has to be by request, but hopefully we can get those taken care of as quickly as possible, but don't hesitate to reach out if you notice somebody who needs access that just doesn't have it.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that, because that's kind of the background information that's important that we all hear. Couple things come to mind as I've had questions raised throughout this school year so far. First of all, we have what I'm going to call an opt-out culture, that there are people who will just opt out. As far as the ability to do that, these screeners are really intended to ensure that staff have information for instructional purposes. We don't want people opting out of the screeners. The screeners don't take forever, and it's not like map testing where it's days worth of testing and days of scheduling, etc. It might take about 30 minutes to do the A reading because it's adaptive. It does move a little bit. It doesn't, it's not as in depth as map was. So bottom line is, as far as I'm concerned, no opt-outs for the screeners. Now, that being said, anyone can actually opt out simply by not being involved. So my goal is to share enough information with students and families why it is that we're doing these tests, what the questions are asking, what kinds of things, and how the data is going to be used. Because I've also heard many stories about families saying, yeah, we don't want to be involved with the state testing, but if it's for you, the teacher, if it's for the district to be using for instructional purposes, then we're all good. So I'm going to be building documents and putting them on the website as well, more specifically about what is a reading, what does it look like, what is it asking for students to do. Students should be aware of this as well. So I think it's really important that that is a critical piece in the conversation. Yes, thank you, Nicole. The purpose of a screener is already outlined in the family letter that should be shared with families. So let me go on to, okay. And speaking of the family letter will be posted today on my website, but I think you've already got access to this through several different documents. The reason why it's a Word document is simply because you can customize this for how you are treating things in your school. Also, if you are wanting to customize it by saying, here is the assessment, here is the username and password, you can do that. You don't have to, but this is information that should be shared with families because it kind of sets the stage for why it is that we're doing this particular assessment. So that will be, you've got copies of that will be posted. I'm double checking on when translations are due any moment. So it should be there. I'm going to be posting it and continue to post in multiple languages as we go. This is going to be the first time that we do Fastbridge as screeners, and so we will be doing it several times throughout the year. The same letter can be used, unless, of course, we're back face-to-face. So, all right, let's stop there to see if there are any Fastbridge questions, because I do want to make sure we have time for IReady and just to talk about scheduling meetings as we go. So any other Fastbridge questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the teachers have to complete those, the basic, the remote assessment, and the e-reading modules. Is there any like need for like myself or whoever else is doing it at the school level to have like a Zoom training or anything, or just have them do those independently?
I mean, it can be done many ways. I would suggest, they can do it independently, straight up. They can do it as a team. So they can meet together and walk through it. You can set, if you are saying, I need to support this team because they might be struggling for some reason, you're welcome to use a Zoom and to do that. So those modules are really strong about what needs to happen for the assessment. The Fast Flicks, a longer module, but it's really designed for, now that you have data, let's start talking about the data and how do we use it. So the Fast Flicks components are really about data use, and they're also very good. So we're going to be building out how to use data. You'll be seeing more and more of that. But until the assessment starts, it's really, let's focus on this. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
At Whitehorse, we did just get together in a Zoom, and all the ELA teachers did the modules on their own, but we were there to help each other out if we had questions while we did it.
Works fine. Again, the purpose is to really get us to be all on the same page for how we do this. And it's not, you're not getting a license, to do a reading. So, question about if they were certified last year, do they have to certify again? At this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to say yes. Nicole, I better check to see if, all right, yeah. The biggest thing is I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. There have been assessments. I know, for instance, WIDA Screener is one that if you are involved with English learners, that's an every other year. I would like to get to that point. I want to say that ultimately, I think you're professionals. you know, it's like, oh man, I really forgot how to do this. And the modules are not long. So this year, I think it would be great if everyone did it. If you're certified, you did it last year, I'm not going to come after you and say, Tim, you got to do it again. So I think that hopefully that will cover it. Okay, I know Peg is on here. Peg, sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are there any concerns, issues as far as accommodations that we need to just be aware of for Fastbridge?
Well, like I had told you earlier, we just put the accommodations on the district-wide assessment page, but now hearing that it probably should go on the state. So if there are CC teachers that know their students need accommodations, that's where they should put them, so that Sarah's going to be able to pull that information when you guys begin the assessments. That's
Right.
what I've got so far.
Okay, sounds good. And there's not a lot of accommodations that can be handled. It's not like we're forward where there's a whole list of different assessments. So it's mostly extended time if it's a time test,
Right.
those kinds of things. So audio. Speaking of audio, headsets are expected. Students can use earbuds. If they are not available, then I don't see, I've actually put the question back to Fastbridge, but I think it's just an issue of listening. So, and focused listening. So the headsets, the earbuds, however they want to do it, are highly recommended. But again, if they don't have them, it's not going to invalidate the test. So, all right. I know that we're running down on time. I want to get to the IReady. So, by the way, Fastbridge is still available for progress monitoring. So that's going on as well. So I think that most of you have probably started with IReady Diagnostic and gotten the students off on that. It should be a little bit more familiar to everyone. There's a couple of really great videos that Curriculum Associates, the vendor, actually produced, one in English, one in Spanish. The logins are the same as they have been in the past as far as where you go. And there is a giving the IReady Diagnostic virtually letter and instruction for home, both in English and in Spanish. And those are also posted on the website. Christina, I don't know if you want to just add anything, how, from your perspective, how are things going? And then if anybody's got questions for either of us, be more than happy to see what we can answer. And if I don't know the answer, I think Christina does.
Somebody will know it, right?
Yeah, no pressure at all. So,
yeah. Well, actually, a lot of our schools have started. I would say roughly 2/3 of our students are presently engaged in the assessment, and a few have finished. So that's been positive. I haven't had a lot of feedback with questions, too many questions about getting kids logged in. If your teachers are struggling, have any questions, there are 3 modules. The first module, which is module 3, which was provided during Welcome Back and actually earlier, goes through administering the diagnostic. There's screenshots, there's all the information, and there's some links to like a script that they can use with kids and different things. And there are also links to those documents and videos that Tim was suggesting as well. So a lot of resources available for them. And then of course, that's just the first step, but that's where we're at. Yeah.
thanks, Prudence. Thanks. Thanks for the heads up. I'll check the website, make sure that's functioning. So appreciate the heads up. So I'm going to open it up. Are there any questions right now? Okay.
Yay, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That is a good thing. All right, I'm just going to finish up then. with the PowerPoint because I've got a couple things I want to check in with every one of you. We are going to have a new assessment, and again, we are no longer doing MAP, so that is off the table. I'm not hearing any cheers, but you know, okay. We have again worked really hard to get assessments that are much more tied to classroom instruction. The ANET assessment is going to be coming up at the end of October. The window opens. We are going to provide kind of a train the trainers, or at least an in-depth look at, you know, what's under the hood for ANET on September 29th, which is a Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I'll send an invite to everyone. It'll be 60 minutes. It'll be led by folks from ANET. It's designed for you. Prior to that, principals will have seen a similar but a slightly different approach. They're going to be looking at the bigger picture, same with instructional coaches. So if you're an instructional coach, you'll be seeing this at the principals meeting, big picture, as well as getting down to some specifics. But the meeting that we're going to hold takes it from that building level and really focusing in on what has to happen for you, for students, and for staff. So that will be the 29th of September. It will be recorded, and we will post that internally as well. So as all these meetings are going to be recorded and posted so that you have access to them. Okay. What's next? So starting Tuesday, I will be having either meetings with you on an occasional basis or office hours. I'm going to say between 2 and 3 p.m. Next Tuesday, the 22nd. It's really focused on you as middle school coordinators. I'll be available that time. I'm not scheduling any other meetings during that time. This is focused on you. If nobody shows up, I do other work, but I will have my Zoom open and I'll have that out to you. My question to you, and I know this is a kind of a tricky thing in the current environment that we're in, is I would like to, on a regular basis, especially as we get moving forward, have meetings with you like this. We can keep them short or as long as we need to, but I want to have a regular schedule. I appreciate that you're here on a Wednesday. I know that not everybody can do that, and not everybody will be able to make every meeting. But if you could just, if there's a day of the week, yes, so there, the link, I missed the link, sorry. If there's a day of the week that will work better for you, and let me know, and I will work on scheduling meetings. But in the meantime, I've got this, the next 2 meetings, so Tuesday and then the following Tuesday. There are supporting documents that we've listed on the website for this meeting today. If you need more, please let me know and we'll make sure that we get that. Finally, I know, John, you had a question. I don't know, I'll have to check. It was Lexia data saved. And Christina, there's also another call for a question. How much time students have to finish their IReady. So really the last thing is how to get a hold of us. So everybody being in the situation we are, the absolute best way is via email. You can do this to myself or to Sarah. Our website is here. Here is my, my personal cell phone number. I do want you to have that because it does make sense that if something goes wrong during an assessment or somebody is panicking, that you get an answer as soon as possible. So my number, 566-5490. Please feel free to text. Please feel free to to call if you've got concerns or questions. That's important because I want to make sure that you get answers to your questions. I don't necessarily have them all, but at least I know that the questions are out there and we can get that information to you. So 566-5490.
I'm also going to let you know that even though I don't have a phone number to list, I keep my Google chat up most of the day. So if you have a quick question and you just want to like pop it over, I like Tim, I don't always know the answer, but then I can contact him and find out the answer. And so don't hesitate to use that too if you're just like, I just want to do this real quick. And I'm usually available for quick Zooms too if anybody wants to talk through anything.
I'm going to stop recording, and if anybody wants to